9 months, Rachel. Can you believe it?
That is long. Amazing experiences, but
we're not doing it. And we haven't done it. I would love to do it, but we're going to talk to our next guest, Dr. Jenny Honeycutt, who is on this cruise with her husband, Christian. And we're so excited to have her on. She's going to tell us all about this cruise that she's on and how she came about giving up what she does daily, which is being a doctor. And Rachel, you know what I'm going to say. Our friends watching this need to do something.
I hope they already did, which is smash that subscribe button, ring the bell, because you do not want to miss any additional episodes. We have so many people coming on.
Oh my God. We have so many guests we talked to already, and we're going to be interviewing cruisers, cruise staff, celebrities, much more. People from different cruise lines that work in different positions like marketing and all that good stuff. So we get the inside dirt. But each week we're going to bring you a new episode. We'd love to hear your comments. But shall we get into this? Because I'm already 9 months. Geez, that's a long time. How about we go? Hey, everybody. Welcome to Cruise Ship Explorers. We're so excited about our guests. Rachel, tell everybody, who do we have?
We have Jennifer Honeycutt and her husband, Christian, and they did the unthinkable because to many of us, this would be really crazy. They had successful careers. They were living the American dream and decided to put it all away and go on the road. Not only did they sell off everything and just hit the country with an RV, but she is currently, right now as we speak, on a 9-month world cruise, people. Let's talk to her.
I am a little jealous. I just want to destroy that right from the get-go in the beginning of this. 9 months. So how are you?
I'm good. Sounds so crazy when I hear it said.
We cruise to the Bahamas, it's a little bit different. So, what inspired you to trade your whole career for something like this?
Yeah, it was a long journey, but ultimately my husband and I, at the end of the day, we wanted to travel, and we used to just lie in bed and dream of traveling. One of the many things we would dream about was, wouldn't it be cool to go on a cruise around the world? Like, we love cruising. I'll tell you, we're not like avid cruisers, which I know sounds funny because we're on a 9-month cruise, but we truly wanted to just see the world and we didn't really see that happening with our careers that we were currently in at the time. And so with a lot of work, we changed our lives and slowly but surely made it happen. And here we are now on a 9-month cruise.
There's a whole giant middle that I need to hear about. So set the stage. What was your life pre-cruising, like your career life and your daily life? And what was preventing you from traveling in the first place? Just a hectic schedule?
Yeah, well, you mentioned the American dream, and my husband and I, we, were fortunate enough to, but also worked really hard to achieve the American dream at an early point in our lives. We were living in Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S., and my husband had worked his way all the way up to chief technology officer of a media company in Atlanta, and I was working as a clinical researcher at Emory, which is a very, top well-known research institution in Atlanta, and on paper, everything was like perfect. We had the jobs we had strived so long and worked so hard to get, but just that emptiness we felt of like that yearning to travel and seeing that, little vacations here and there were just not cutting it for us. And so we quit our jobs.
Wait. You quit your jobs. Now, because here's a whole other chapter here. So I imagine many discussions took place. And then did you guys set a date? Like, was it spontaneous? Like, let's just both up and quit? Or was it more like, we're going to give ourselves a timetable. We're going to work up until this timetable and kind of put the pieces together and quit 6 months from now, 9 months from now, 2 years. This quitting process, how long was this?
Yeah. So let me set the timeline. This was in 2020. And as we're all aware, what really set the stage for us was the pandemic. So on my husband's side, he had quit his job right before the shutdown in the US. So he was like, well, shoot, I just quit my job. And I was exiting my job. I had already given notice. We didn't set a date, but I was actually still pushing for going remote with my work, and they were pushing back. So I had already been probably like 40% remote in my job. And I was like, I could do this 100% remote. Let's work this out. And that's kind of the crazy thing is then the pandemic happened and it was like, wow, we all had to go remote to an extent. And this is way more feasible than we thought. So I ended up staying in my job longer than I wanted, which kind of delayed our timeline a little bit, but also the world was shut down. So there was no travel happening on our end.
And then after that, okay, so you guys quit your jobs. It's the pandemic. And other than just hopping in an RV, doing that for a while and seeing the countryside, you have a house, you have stuff. Like how long did this, okay, we have no jobs now to getting, I guess, did you keep it all in RV for a while? Did you get rid of it? So, like this sounds like drastic.
I know, it's wild. So we didn't actually have the RV that we have now. We didn't have that yet. So we had a Land Rover at the time. We were building out a bed in the back. At the time, our goal was to travel around, go to the national park, stay out of the Land Rover. And that dream was kind of crushed by the pandemic. So we weren't traveling at all. But that time was when we started our own businesses, and we both started our own business. We both helped each other with our businesses, and slowly but surely turned into 100% remote and flexible, where we both could travel and still work. So that was the key for us in being able to do
amazing.
The RVing, which happened first. In 2021, we bought an RV and finally got on the road in 2022. And then this cruise started in 2023. And being flexible and being remote through our own businesses is what allowed us to be here today.
That's awesome. Because I don't think the average person can say, hey, work, I'm going to be gone for 9 months, see you when I get back. So definitely everything aligning at the right time, but not just that, because things don't just magically align. You guys worked really hard, to get to where you were, because that's part of it, is that you're almost trading a lot of this success for little to no personal time. And it's easy, as glamorous as it may look, to get stuck in that hamster wheel. And then you're 40, you're 50, you're 60. And then, that's what a lot of our parents, our grandparents are like, don't wait till the end to start travel. Like, start trying to get it in now, because you just never know what's going to happen. So it sounds like you guys came up with a plan and then had the guts to execute it, and had fallback plans and things like that. So I'm really, congratulations, guys. I am like super impressed, because now you run Dr. Jenny Travels. So you're all over social media. I definitely love your website, but that is a difficult business. It's not a business that you start earning on day one. You have to build a lot of content, learn video editing, learn a whole bunch of stuff. So when did you guys start to put your experiences online?
Yeah. And so that is actually just a piece of my business. So my big business that I run, that I started during the pandemic, is Honeycutt Writing and Consulting. And the doctor in my handle on social media comes from my PhD in health and rehab sciences. And when I left my academic research career, my favorite part of it was writing. And when I was like staring at a blank page, not sure what to do next, we had moved to Florida, and this time I was no longer in big city Atlanta with endless opportunities. I was in a small town Florida with no research institutions, and I was like, what am I going to do? And I said, well, what if I focus on writing and help other researchers and businesses and professionals with that side? So now what I do through my business is academic manuscripts, helping teams get grants, and then a lot of FDA medical device consulting. And then the Dr.
That's
Jenny
amazing.
Travels is a part of that. I love writing. I love travel writing. It's something I want to get into even more so. And then, of course, social media. This 9-month world cruise really blew up when it started on socials. And so that's been taking off and has been super fun journey.
And how did you end up selecting the actual line that you were going to sail on? Like what inspired that process? Did you have to do a lot of research, or there are a lot of ships out there that do the same itinerary? I know is it Royal Caribbean that you're on?
Yep, it's Royal Caribbean. And the key was that it was the longest world cruise ever.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. So
and which ship are you on?
You're going to go big. Like, let's not mess around here.
We're on the Serenade of the Seas.
And the Itinerary, that I have to hear about that.
The Itinerary is also what sold us because it goes everywhere. So I remember when we first looked at the Itinerary when this thing came out. So also we booked this back in 2021. So we kind of just committed to it, put down the deposit, and we're like, oh my God, let's do this. It started in 2023. But when we looked at that Itinerary, it started in Miami, Florida, made its way south all the way around South America, visited Antarctica, back up to LA, across the Pacific Ocean, all over Asia, Southeast Asia. It was originally supposed to sail through the Middle East, but due to unrest that we are familiar with, it had to reroute. This was so dramatic. We should talk about this more. It had to reroute all the way around the southernmost tip of Africa. And then we got to visit many African countries. It looped up through the Mediterranean, and we finished the Mediterranean, and now we're up in, I guess, Northern Europe, heading towards Scandinavia right now.
Wow. So talk about how, when they change the itinerary on you, how is that something while you're on the cruise they're doing that? Did you have any heads up?
Yep. It was so... As the unrest was building in the Middle East, we were very familiar with the news, right, and hearing and seeing it, and so we were all kind of like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? We know something's going to happen. We weren't sure, and it was a lot of anticipation, kind of anxiety building up too, and so they finally announced that we will not be sailing through the Middle East, and we were like, okay, what are our options? And they gave us 2 options, and this ship became a democracy.
I was going to say, did you guys have to vote, or what happened?
That is crazy.
It was so crazy. We had to vote, and the first option was called Immersive Africa. So it was going to as many stops in Africa as possible, and then resuming our original itinerary in Italy. The second option was they nicknamed it the Highway. Basically, it was get around Africa as fast as possible so that we could resume our original itinerary in Greece and not miss Greece and Turkey and a couple of those countries up there. And so we voted. People were like campaigning. There was the joke that they're going to
there was signs.
Signs. Social media posts. I was one of them making the posts, And finally, the vote came out, and option 1, Immersive Africa, was voted. And overall, the excitement was very incredible to be getting to explore parts of Africa that I never even dreamed of going. Like, cruises don't go to some of those places that we went. So that was very exciting.
I wonder if they had to get special permission to go there, or how that works in the actual industry, because, to change an itinerary is not an easy thing to do. Having to make that call, okay, so now what are we going to do? And people are voting on it on top of it. And I'm glad that it actually turned out great for you because, like you said, those places are probably not going to happen too often for people. And the fact that you got to experience it is amazing. When you booked your cruise, I know Rachel has 5 million questions, but I'm going to get in mine first here. I'm going to jump ahead because this is what I like to find out is you're going to be in a cabin for 9 months. How do you pick that? Especially, if it's a newer ship, you don't know the cabin. So how did you make that decision?
Yeah, so this actually funny story. This is an older ship. It's over 20 years old. And we picked our cabin, and then we did a world cruise test run, what we called it, where we booked a Caribbean cruise on this ship in the same cabin that we were going to be living in for 9 months.
That's so smart. That's great.
And we just, we knew we were going to do it. We knew it wouldn't sway our opinion away from doing this cruise, but it just was so much fun to be in our future home, as I use air quotes here, on that Caribbean cruise. And also what's funny is on that cruise, I left a note to our future selves up in the ceiling, and it was still there when we got on board.
Are you kidding? And so because you're lucky that you were actually able to pick that cabin.
Yeah, we scoured the cruising list until we could find one that had this cabin available.
That's so smart. If I ever take the cabin, I'm going to look upstairs for Jenny's notes. There could be more notes. You
never know.
I would imagine then taking that cruise to test everything out. You were able to test the food, the restaurant, make sure they have a gym if you want that, all that kind of stuff. So tell us about the amenities. How do you find them on the cruise ship?
Yeah, we found them great because this cruise has a very nice gym. It also has a rock climbing wall, which my husband's a big boulder or rock climber, so that was exciting that we could kind of keep up our abilities with that, because that's a big activity we do back home, especially in our home base of Vegas. And we have enjoyed the food, and I'm in an interior cabin, so we chose an interior cabin because that's the price was very good, for an interior cabin. And also we really like interior cabins because they motivate us to get out on the deck.
Absolutely.
And, if you've ever stayed in an interior cabin, you know how dark it can get, and you just have some of the best sleeps and naps. So my husband, who is actually prone to migraines, it's very nice to control the light as well. So that's what an interior cabin can do. Just for anyone out there that might.
Yeah, even it's funny you say that, because we've already interviewed a lot of entertainers, and most of their cabins are interior, but they actually like it because they're working so many hours that they just want to sleep. So the fact that it's completely dark is really helpful for them. So that there's some truth to that as well.
Yeah, and cruising in general can be just think of any cruise you've been on, or it can be very stimulating. There's always entertainment happening. There's always noise. There's always this and that, which is so fun, right? So exciting. That's one of the great things about cruising. But imagine for 9 months, it's been like that. So having an interior cabin is just so peaceful, because it's the one place that you can get away from all the stimulation.
Yeah. No, that's something I didn't think about, because you're right. Most cruisers will do the 4-day cruise, the 7-day cruise, maybe a little bit longer, 2 weeks at the most, I imagine are the most common. And it's okay for a quick burst. And you get off your cruise, you're tired. You need a vacation from your vacation. But to do it for 9 months would be a little much. And especially the entertainers and the shows, pretty much all the cruise ships have their theater entertainment. Do you find that over the 9 months, have they changed entertainers and shows to keep you guys entertained? Or is it kind of the same lounge act or the same activities every day?
Yeah, so that side of things has been great. So we do have our Royal Caribbean resident singers and dancers on board, and they have a series of shows that they do, and also their own individual shows that they do as well. So there's that. And then we have guest entertainers cycling through, probably like typical cruises. They'll get on at one port, stay on for a few days, perform a night or two, and then get off. A variety of entertainers, musicians, singers, dancers, aerialists, right, magicians, etc. But then we also have folkloric entertainment, which is my favorite. And so that is, we will have groups come on from the port that we are in. The last one we had was a German folkloric band, because that's one of the most recent places we've been. But back in Tahiti, we had Tahitian dancers come on board. In Brazil, we had carnival dancers, musicians come on board. So it's not every port, but on some of the big ones, we've had these folkloric groups, and they're often educational or do justice to the culture of the place that we're in. And those are just my favorite. So special.
Now
Yeah, it's
that's
great
entertainment. That is super unique. That's something that
I
we
love
haven't
that.
experienced. Yeah, what a great idea.
And you're right, like seeing the different entertainers that you would normally not see on just a local Caribbean cruise or something like that. And us being musicians ourselves, we love that. So any chance that we get to see somebody from Brazil or something like that, it's just like, I'm like, wow, this is really, really cool. We just talked to somebody who's a guest entertainer as well. He's from Australia. Like for him, it's just entertaining being a musician because he gets to play with people that are trained differently in the music world, but then to give it out to the people that are on the cruise, they're hearing such different variety of music. And from his side of it, he loved that, so from the guest side of it, we get it. It's just amazing. And it gives you a little bit of variety. I can't even imagine 9 months, how many different people you get to see and connect with. And
yeah, and I was going to say for the communication and family, you're going to be gone for 9 months. Did you go with another couple, a family member? How do you find like making friends on the ship? Or are you guys like, us two, we're good, we're doing like our thing? Or I know a lot of people kind of get into this niche or this community of like-minded individuals. And so what's life 9 months on a ship?
Yeah, it's the closest thing I can equate it to is like a college dorm. Of course, we have people of all different ages and different backgrounds, but it's like a college dorm when you like meet all these people, like you're just thrown together. You didn't necessarily choose who you wanted to be with or where, and you all are there for like the same reason, travel, right? Cruising. And then you, of course, gravitate to kind of the people that you vibe with. But that's the closest thing I can relate it to. So on the one hand, it's amazing, right? College dorm life, so fun. On the other hand, there's, of course, when you throw a bunch of people together on a small confined area, there's going to be some drama.
It's like living in a small town. Everybody knows what everyone is up to.
Yep. Yep, we have Facebook groups. We have like a private groups, where all the gossip happens. Oh, it's just, yeah, like living in a small town.
so I have a couple of questions I'm curious about is how does that like play a role on your mental health, being on the ship for so long? Because I'm thinking about it myself and it's like 9 months is a long time. I'm being on the ship.
Yeah, I will say, first of all, I have such a huge respect for crew because 9 months, right, is probably more a typical length contract for crew.
Yeah.
Plus or minus some. But I mean, think of not only are they living on a ship, but now they're also living with all of their coworkers. So I just have huge respect for them because it can be taxing on your mental health. First of all, you're on a ship. It's unlike anything you've ever experienced. I am prone to motion sickness, seasickness. So unfortunately, sometimes like I just don't feel myself because we're rocking,
Right.
we're in rough seas. And I have a symptom of like sleepiness where I just want to collapse and fall asleep. And so that kind of wears on you. And then fortunately, my husband and I, we're very used to living in small confines, like RVing back in the US. But certainly even we have had to find our groove. And we've definitely seen other couples have to find their groove of going from maybe a very large living situation to a small, tiny living situation. So
yes.
yeah, it just those kinds of things can wear on you, but you just like with anything, you have to know your boundaries, know when you need some me time or some fresh air, things like that.
And how do you pack for something like this? I mean, how many suitcases per person? Do you just use the laundry service? Like what is this packing situation for 9 months?
Yes.
Or do you just buy everything at the local store on board? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's pretty expensive.
Yes.
So two things with this cruise is we included in the fare was wash and fold service. So
Okay.
we have access to that. But then also before this 9-month cruise that sail, they added laundry facilities to several of the decks. So I do choose to do some of our own laundry, like nice dresses, dry fits, like a couple things like that. And that way, so we are able to do laundry. Having said that, though, we brought a lot. Again, we live out of our RV, so we basically brought all our entire wardrobe. I think we brought 6 suitcases on, plus backpack.
Wow, that's incredible. I thought like when we first started cruising, we didn't know how to pack for a week cruise, so we had like 2 suitcases each, carry on and all this stuff, and I was like, oh, and we learned real quick we don't need that much, but 6 suitcases definitely. But it's, if you think about it, it's 9 months. Now, would you say you brought too much? Could you live without some of the stuff?
Absolutely brought too much. Yep. I think a lot of people feel that way too. Again, we are used to like small living, but even my husband and I brought too much. And the thing we, necessarily didn't account for either was, we're going to want to buy stuff when we're traveling around the world. And we have done pretty well where we haven't like gone crazy and bought a ton of stuff. But like when I was in India, I bought the traditional like Indian sari, which is like, whatever you're picturing in your head, like that's it. Glittery Hollywood style, like wrap around 6 meters of fabric kind of dress.
Yes.
It takes up some space. So it's like, oh. So we've collected things like that along the way. We do have an extra suitcase now, so we will hopefully we will be good.
And what about the food? Because I'm curious about that. 9 months, we think about cruises. Okay, you have the buffet and you have the same menu. How do you adjust to that?
Yeah, so we have found it great. Actually, so typically cruises, Royal Caribbean does this, but I know a lot of other cruise lines do as well. You have the buffet and then you often have main dining, right? Believe it or not, we rarely ever eat at main dining. And it's just because we've just found the buffet to be really good. We like it. And also main dining is often, not every night is formal night by any means, but it is kind of more of a formal sit down, you have courses, and just we found that we were kind of overeating more when we were going to the main dining rooms. We were just sitting there getting all the courses, the breads, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like most people actually do go to main dining, but once we got over the, oh my gosh, all you can eat, like it's actually quite easy to eat pretty healthy on a cruise because there are options, the salad bar, the fresh, like the meats. And on this cruise in particular, they're picking, they couldn't plan out the 9 months just from the food they got at the first port. So we've had to pick up food along the way. So that's been interesting too, because for example, the watermelon, like we love watermelon, and it's funny how it has changed in taste and flavor and seeds and color.
Isn't that neat?
World. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we say the same thing. We like to eat a lot of salads, and we don't go often on a 2-week cruise, but when we do, that we would notice that it would change up a little bit, just to even the fruits, but it's interesting because we love that kind of stuff, but it's definitely keeps it, interesting, especially being on, such a long time, like you're saying,
Yeah. And this cruise, again, with the immersive aspect of it, this is something we knew back when we first booked as well. It's something they've really done well on this cruise is, as we're traveling around the world, they'll have like ethnic foods local to that place. So whether they make it on board or they pick it up, like we were actually just the other day, we were commenting how good the desserts were. This is back from when we were in Portugal. There's this famous little like souffle kind of dessert. We're like, man, y'all made those so good. Like amazing job. They tasted just like out there. Like, well, yeah, because we picked them up from out there. So that's been really cool in that we've had food. Not just, they picked up food from the store there, but they've actually picked up or made food that is ethnic to that country. And that's really fun to try the different foods around the world.
That's one of the things that we like with the buffet as well, although not as long of a cruise ship journey, but every night is a different theme, like an Indian theme or an Asian theme. And it's not like the typical what a restaurant thinks you're going to eat, because you are in an authentic multicultural situation with the crew. The food is much more authentic. And I know what you mean about the dining. A lot of times I just like to be casual, eat when I want to eat. Sometimes you want to dine and dash, because you just want to hang out somewhere else. And you don't want to sit at the table and just kind of like wait, because sometimes they are behind. Like we've been in situations where they're like overcrowded and they're doing the best they can, but definitely huge points for the buffet. So for anybody thinking about doing this length of a cruise, what are anything, I imagine you guys did immense planning, but is there anything that you're like, wow, there's no way to plan for this, or we overlooked this and we should have thought, like any surprises that people planning aren't thinking about looking at, but it's like,
I got one, 6
up.
suitcases. No 6 suitcases.
Yeah. That's a really good question. What came to my mind was, yes, you need less than you think, and allow space for buying things around the world, right? Don't go crazy, but you're going to want to buy souvenirs. And we kind of like to search for functional souvenirs. So that could be clothes, for example, like chopsticks in Japan that you could go use back at home. So that's kind of what we personally are looking for. Again, we haven't gone too crazy with buying too much, but yeah, you need less than you think, and leave room for those special things that you are going to find around the world.
Yeah, those unique things. Yeah. So out of this entire itinerary so far, what is the one, if somebody obviously can't do a 9-month cruise, but if they could do a separate cruise, be like, this should be your top spot, like top itinerary, top destination, do this one first.
Oh man. Okay. Top spot. And the top spot that I want to go back to as well is Antarctica. Like, for the listeners, if you ever get a chance to go to Antarctica, whether it be just like a cruising by or an actual like expedition, do it, because
Rachel, you hear that?
I'm into that.
It's like once in a lifetime. So we didn't actually step foot on Antarctica. We are too large of a cruise ship to like tender boats out to the land. So it went way up on our bucket list to go back. Having said that, going to Antarctica in any form or fashion is not cheap. So if you get any chance to or can, that's by far my top recommendation. It's just so otherworldly. And it's been a lot of people's favorite spot that we've gone to.
How about excursions? Did you, I have a 2-part question here. So excursions. Do you tend to book with the cruise ship, or did you book outside of the cruise ship? And how did you even plan for something like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we tend to do excursions on our own, and we often look for like outdoor adventure. We are really big hikers. So Norway is actually coming up, and I've heard that you could just like step off the ship and go on a hike. It was so much, we're very much looking forward to coming up here. But having said that, if you have no idea where to start, like cruise excursions are great because they're often like little samplers, often like city tours, or, they will take you out to the outdoors. But we just we tend to not do them. However, we have done some. So for example, when we were in Italy, we really wanted to see Florence. We wanted to see Pisa. But if you know those places, they are inland. And so we hopped on an excursion because it's mindless. You can just hop on the shuttle. That shuttle is going to get you back to the ship on time. Typically, the ship, I believe, at least Royal Caribbean, it won't leave unless all Royal Caribbean excursions are back. So that's an example of when we booked a cruise excursion. Outside of this cruise, when we did the Caribbean, so Southern Caribbean, we really wanted to see the Panama Canal, and planning it on our own kind of felt a little daunting. So we're like, all right, well, let's just book the excursion because we know that shuttle will get us there. We know we'll get to see it. We know we'll get back in time because it was quite far from where we were ported. So those are just a few examples of like when we would do that. But typically we're out there on our own. Even in Africa, we hopped off the ship. We talked to local tour guides right there at the port, and we're on our way. So
yeah, we're the same way.
I highly recommend that.
Yeah, we're kind of the same way. We try and, if we can, we book, pretty much on our own and do the research, and also make sure that we get back to the ship on time. We definitely don't want to be one of those pier runners. But yeah, it is definitely a mix. Your first-time cruisers, it might be safer for them to book through the cruise ship if they don't know exactly what they're doing or they're not good at researching. So we kind of recommend both, but for our own experience where we just came back from Mediterranean cruise as well, it was the same thing. We decided we're going to do everything on our own. We will definitely plan enough time to get back, but everything we did on our own, and we had the best time. We figured it out, did the research, and we made it happen. So I agree with you. I have to ask this, just a total side question. Your internet is amazing. What is up with the internet on the cruise ship? Do you have I have to ask, is the satellite in your actual bathroom right there? Did you take it and you just use it for your journey? Or, it's clear.
Because this is usually a challenge, like trying to speak with people on a cruise ship. It's constant freezing or lockups and stuff. I am super impressed.
Me too.
Right. So before this world cruise, they upgraded the internet to Starlink. And I believe they're rolling that out across the entire Royal Caribbean fleet. And then I know other cruise lines are starting to do this too. It's insane. We were familiar with Starlink already because that's actually what we use in our RV. So we will be out in the middle of nowhere in the desert of Nevada and have perfect internet. And so we felt pretty confident that this cruise the internet was going to be pretty good for our work. We're certainly not working full time, but we are maintaining our businesses from the ship.
Right.
It was very important that we had good internet. And actually, when we booked this cruise, that was one of the first things we asked is there going to be reliable internet? Because I don't think we can necessarily do this if we don't have internet. And then I also believe that's why this cruise went so viral, because when it started, we were all posting at the same time, and it went crazy on TikTok. Absolutely crazy.
I know. I love following your adventures there, and you have such great content. And you said you do all the editing yourself. So, props to you. I think you're doing a great job at just documenting everything that you're doing, and we enjoy it. And I told Rachel when I initially found you online, I'm like, check this person out, because, we were trying to find everybody and anybody. And then I saw yours. I'm like, I wonder if she would have time. And then the first thing that came to my mind was, if you're actually still on this ship, are we going to be choppy internet? What's it going to be like? Because we actually had just done, when I found you, I just did an interview with a band member in one of the pit bands in the orchestra. And he was on this ship and it was freezing, this and that. And I said, all right, we're going to have to do this when you're on land. But yeah, I'm impressed, and you're right. Starlink it changed the internet, drastically for people on the road.
Yeah. It was because it was impossible. Even I was doing internet marketing. To upload a video, it would take 2 days, and if the connection dropped, you had to start all over again. You couldn't do long enough trips. You'd have to do something short because the internet was always unreliable. And with you guys being remote, you have to continue to work. So how are you maintaining, first of all, how many sea days you have, and what's your work and then playtime schedule looking like? Is the block of time the same every day? Every morning we're going to do this time and then go have fun?
No, I wish I could say I'm balancing it perfectly, but I am not. When we did have sea days, it was a lot easier. But right now in Europe, and this is probably the case with other European cruises as well, all the places are so close to one another. We have no sea days. So today we just started a stretch of 17 straight port days. So we have no sea for 18 days.
And it's not like you can't do the port. This is the reason that you're on the cruise. So you have to do the port and just come back tired, do what you got to do, and, just kind of cruise through the next 17 days before hitting it hard. It's a challenge. It's definitely, you don't want to then get off the cruise and say, okay, I missed all these amazing countries because I had to do X, Y, and Z. Yep. That is not the life tale, that you want to tell after coming off of something like this.
Yeah, I've been living a little bit in the you can sleep when you're dead mentality right now, which is definitely not sustainable, but we're going with it for now because this is the non-glamorous side of remote work. You you have flexibility, but you're also like working all the time. So it's gotten a lot better now because even right now it's a reasonable time. It's like around dinner time and I'm talking with y'all, no problem. But back when we were in Asia, Australia, I was taking calls at 12 a.m., 1 a.m. because that was normal time where most of my clients are back in the US. So knowing that this Europe segment was going to be so crazy, fortunately, again, the whole flexibility piece, we were able to kind of scale our businesses back a little bit with this part of the cruise, because it is what comes first right now is seeing the world, like seeing the places we're going.
Yeah.
But 17 days of port days, it's impossible to go hard every day. So we triage a bit, and sometimes we have just the chillest days where we just go find a coffee shop or a restaurant and just feel the vibe and just chill.
And sometimes that ends up being the best excursion because you really end up traveling like the locals do, going to their spots and things. And the attractions are cool, but they're crowded and you can't do as many of them as you think you can, by the time to really fully do them. So we found the same thing, cruising the Mediterranean, just walking the streets and going into the different coffee shops and seeing a lot of the attractions, some from the inside, but a lot of them from the outside was really the way to go. We just got such a great experience out of that.
Yeah. And just, be with travel in general, like you just have to keep that flexible piece in mind. Like to exactly your point, if you plan an itinerary, that's fine, but maybe realistically cut it in half. And that's what
it's so true, because it turns into stress where you're like, okay, hurry, pick up the pace. We're like an hour late. Now we're going to have to like double time it to this one. And it just becomes very stressful. And I found the days that we were just walking around with kind of no plan, a loose map of what we wanted to do.
I love those. Yeah.
We'll get to what we get to. And also that affects who you want to travel with, because not everyone is like that. We like kind of going ourselves and having that flexibility because we both are the same. Now, if the spouses aren't the same, that makes it a little bit more difficult. Someone were like, here is your Excel spreadsheet with all of the attractions with time signatures of when we have to be at all the, some people are like that. They're organized. Heck, got to give them credit because they get it all in. But I'd be so tired to enjoy it.
Yep.
So Kenny, are you guys looking now online at the next adventure you're going to take? And what is that?
Yeah. So our
Because some people get the bug, And
oh my gosh. Yes, we have the bug big time. We've done some pretty awesome stuff even outside of this cruise, which I'm just so fortunate for, and just it's amazing. But the next big adventure, which is kind of just our life of getting back to Las Vegas, is we will trek back across the US. And we are so when we return to Miami, our truck is in Florida. So we will see my husband's family in Florida. We have a little bit of business to take care of as well. So that's there's like a kind of exciting to like get back to like a little bit of that as well. And then
absolutely,
we're going to visit my family in South Carolina. I have a little 1-year-old niece, which I am dying to hug. Yeah.
So cute.
Then we're going to trek across the country, which some people dream of doing that, right? It's so crazy. And visit as many friends and family as possible. And what's cool is we're going to be visiting some of our friends from this world cruise as well, who are like along the way. So
that's amazing. And how long will that journey last?
We're trying to do it in 3 weeks. So
okay.
Our RV is stored in Las Vegas. So our goal is to get back and get it out of storage right before the next month kicks in. And then we will be back to RV life.
Wow. And then are you thinking any thoughts after that into the future, what the next journey is going to be?
Well, what's funny is I was just looking at another cruise today.
See, I knew it. I knew it.
I know. I was like, come on. We know she's going to say it.
Yeah. So funny, not so funny story. When we started this cruise, my husband had to miss quite a few ports, actually all the ABC islands, because he got COVID and was quarantined to our room. So that was not the most fun way to start. But because we missed, I went out on my own, but he missed all these ports. So we're like, we got to go back to the ABC Islands. And so I was just looking at some Southern Caribbean cruises that would also include Panama and Colombia and the ABC Islands. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And do you have are you going to stick with Royal Caribbean? Do you have any other like lines that you want to try?
Oh, well, I would love to try Virgin, but we've never done a Virgin cruise, but I've heard that they're awesome. Adult only also sounds
yes,
really
yes.
nice now.
Yes, no, I get it. We get it.
Amazing kids, but we've been with they've become our family, the kids on board.
Right, of course, and you need a little bit of a break at some
Adult
point.
playtime now,
Yeah. Adults only sounds very appealing, but we will stay loyal to Royal, because the nice thing about this Royal cruise is they awarded the points as usual. And so we have achieved quite a bit of status from 274 days of cruising.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine. What are you guys now, captains? I mean, it's crazy. No, that's and you know what? You do get some perks. Having the loyalty points and getting different things. There is something to be said about that, and we like that too. We do a lot of Norwegian line cruises, but we do want to try Virgin. We want to try some different things, but there is something to be said about staying loyal to one line. No, that's awesome. And Jenny, do you have any stuff that you want to promote? We love promoting people's stuff. Is there, well, first of all, tell everybody where they can find you.
So I'm on all platforms, mainly TikTok, but of course Instagram and Facebook. I have a YouTube channel as well. The handle is Dr. Jenny Travels. So that's Dr. Jenny Travels, Dr. Jenny Travels. But more intimately, I do have an email subscription because I'm sure, as you know, with social media, especially TikTok, it's so all over the place sometimes, and the algorithm will push you at one point and then not show a darn thing in the next time. So I really wanted to connect like on a deeper level with my followers. So I have an email subscription list, which is where I'm going to be announcing new plans and upcoming things. And that can be found in the link in my bio of my platform.
Okay, that's amazing. That's great. Everybody has to go check her out, because I think I might have spent 9 months checking you out online. No, I'm kidding. But I did spend some time. I was telling Rachel, I was like, I look up at the clock and there's hours going, You have a lot of content there on all the platforms. And we totally enjoyed this conversation. We would love to have you back to hear about future travels if you'd love to come back, at a future date. Rachel, did we miss? Well, I know what you're going to say, Rachel. Go ahead, say it.
I mean, we covered a lot. The American dream to pivoting and doing something that really fulfilled the soul, and, living it out as best they can and achieving that, balancing their work, getting remote jobs. I mean, we covered a ton. And so we got to leave some for when she comes back.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. That was a great episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Great guests. We're super excited. Each week, we're going to bring you a new interview with cruise staff featuring entertainers, cruise chefs, cruise directors, bartenders, whoever we can find, as well as cruisers themselves to tell their individual stories. And we're going to have special guest celebrities. Theme cruises are super big, so we're going to be interviewing a bunch of people. But Rachel, tell them what they need to do to be notified each week.
What do you mean, do? They should have did. So if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. That way you don't miss any future episodes. And if you want to watch some of the previous episodes, the best place to do that is our website. And that is cruiseshipexplorers.com.
Okay, everybody, you heard it, cruiseshipexplorers.com. Join us each week. We're super excited. Till the next time, see you then.